and welcome back to another Smoke Signal synopsis. In this video, I'll be previewing what stories are in the February 15th, 2021 Smoke Signals newspaper. On the front page, you'll see the left side column has a story on the tribal police chief concerned with the ramifications of drug decriminalization. Oregon became the first state in the nation to decriminalize drug possession with Measure 110, but Grand Ronde Tribal Police Chief Jake McKnight said he has local concerns, saying he thinks the law might not benefit the reservation the same way it could benefit the rest of Oregon. That full story can be found on page 11. Back on the front page, we have an eye-catching graphic with a story on the Natural Resources Department raising awareness about non-native plants. From reading this story, I actually learned that February 22nd through the 26th is National Invasive Species Awareness Week. This year, the NRD will be sending out a series of educational emails with resources on invasive plants and how to best prevent their spread. That story is continued on page 10. At the bottom, we have a story about a family that drove from Reno, Nevada to get their Moderna COVID-19 vaccine at the two-day vaccination clinic held in the Grand Ronde Tribal Gym. On Thursday, February 4th, the family of three left their home at 3:30 a.m. to make their 1 p.m. vaccination appointment. They said they'll make the same trip in March to get their second dose. You can read more on that story on page 8. On page 2, we report the Kaiser City Council approved a Chick-fil-A restaurant at the Chamawa Station, which is jointly owned by the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. In another story, the man suspected of starting the fire that damaged the Grand Ronde Tribe's Blue Heron property will receive a mental health examination before his case proceeds, as the Clackamas County judge found there was a reason to doubt the suspect's mental ability to proceed with the criminal defense. That story will be found on page 3. During the February 7th General Council meeting, Health Services Executive Director Kelly Rao presented her department's efforts in the past year, which mainly consisted of COVID-19 initiatives, specifically vaccinations and COVID-19 testing. You can read more about that on page 5. We shared this about 1,000 times on our Smoke Signals Facebook page, but if you haven't seen it, Tribal Council Chairwoman Cheryl A. Kennedy appeared on OPB's Think Out Loud on February 5th to discuss the presidential transition and its expected changes on Oregon tribes and Indian country. You can read a summary of her discussion with hosts Dave Miller and Nez Pierce citizen and Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission Executive Director Jamie Pinkham on page 6, or listen to the full interview linked on our Facebook page. During its Wednesday, February 10th meeting, Tribal Council okays a grant application to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to purchase 25 firefighting breathing apparatus in preparation for the 2025 tribal takeover of the fire and emergency medical responses in Grand Ronde. More can be read on page 7. In this February 15th edition, we also have several photos sharing first and second graders returning to school for the first time in close to a year, plus Willamina teachers receiving their COVID-19 vaccines. Be sure to check those out throughout the paper. And for our last two stories on page 9, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde received a certificate of appreciation from the Oregon Department of Forestry and U.S. Forest Service for its assistance in hosting a fire camp that battled the Echo Mountain Complex fire in September 2020. And on page 17, Grand Ronde Tribal member Anthony Hudson was one of the 23 Native American artists who received a $7,500 cash award through the First Peoples Funds Artists in Business Leadership and Cultural Capital Fellowship programs. And that was your Smoke Signal synopsis. You can read the entire paper online now in a PDF at smokesignals.org or in the print edition coming to you soon. I'm Kamaya, the social media digital journalist for Smoke Signals.